Good morning, everyone. We are here for a live to meet with one of our past students, Tijana, and we are going to be talking about her time in the Making Money Moves coaching program, which is our 3-month signature program. It's going to be awesome. She's going to be sharing all of her wins with you. I need to remember how to add people. Every time I do this, I'm like, I can't remember. How do I bring people on the live with me? So I need to search for her. And then let's see here. It doesn't work. Oh, there we go. Okay. We are inviting her to join. Amazing, Tijana. How's it going?
Good. How are you? You look fabulous.
Good. I always get so nervous every time I go to do a live. I'm like, I don't remember how to add people. And I'm like clicking your name and stuff. I'm like, is this going to work? But it popped up. And
Me too. I'm like, where do I rest my phone again? Like, is this my spot? Is the lighting okay? Is my bangs good? Like, good.
My lighting is horrible in here right now, and they're actually building a house next door, but there's no construction people yet, so I'm hoping that we don't get interrupted by a bunch of like sawing and banging. But
it happened. We'll get
yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before we get into it, I just wanted to do a quick introduction about who Tijana is, what we're going to be doing here today. So if you have been making good money with nothing to show for it, then you need to watch this live because this could be the thing that inspires you to change everything. So guys, today I'm meeting with one of our star students. You can see here, Tijana. Tijana actually completed our coaching program 3 months ago and last month, and it was our 3-month coaching program. During her I lost my spot. During her 3 months with us, she was able to achieve some incredible things. So she went from $0 saved to an emergency fund of over $4,000. She created a plan to buy a home within the next year, when this used to be a dream that felt unattainable for a millennial in this market. She saved tens of thousands in future fees by making smarter investments, so her money works harder for her. So more money in her pocket, more money in the bank. She came up with a plan to go on yearly family vacations without going into debt. This is huge. So in the past, she would have just put that on a credit card and spent a while paying it back plus interest, but now she has a plan so that she can actually just pay for those in cash, which is amazing because that means she's actually paying less for those vacations. And within her first month with us, she paid off $2,000 in high interest debt. Now, I know I always say this, that we have been freaking busy over here. Our team has been booked with calls, trying to help you babes start winning with money, and I am freaking here for it. So just so you guys all know as well, we are actually planning an all new free training. Yes, this is going to be number freaking 5. I'm going to be announcing it on May 1st. It's going to be launching in June. So if you guys are interested, make sure you keep your eye on our page. If you watch anything today, like I said, let it be this video because this just might be the inspirational kick in the butt you need to help you change your life. So again, Tijana took the 3-month coaching program, the Making Money Moves method, and she's going to be talking about her experience and her incredible wins she's had by learning from us and implementing the strategies into her life. The Making Money Moves method is our signature process that is based on all the things I did to take myself from $40,000 in debt, making good money at my corporate job. I was making $50,000 a year, but still living paycheck to paycheck, to paying off my student loans in 18 months, saving my first 100K at 25, paying for my wedding in cash, buying my dream home, feeling financially stable enough for kids. That was a big one. Building a $500,000 net worth in my 20s and then growing that to $1 million by 30 years old. So now I am set to become work optional in my 30s based on the ways I set myself up in my 20s, meaning I will never have to work for money again if I don't want to. And I did this all without a budget, without restriction, and without giving up what I loved. So in the program, we actually provide you with the proven process and scripts that have helped our students secure 10, 20, 30% raises, 8 modules of video money trainings to help you build a fat bank account with ease, homework modules that help you dig deep and implement what you've learned, support and coaching from myself and our team for 3 months to get personalized feedback on your money plan, monthly mindset masterminds with a licensed therapist to overcome mindset hurdles, a private Facebook community for students only to ask questions and network with other babes, and the exact strategies to building a fat bank account that works harder than you do, and the step-by-step process to building your dream life. So remember, guys, money is a tool, and when we have the right strategies, we can have that roadmap to success, okay? It gets to be easy. Money should be bringing you joy, not stress, and I'm here to teach you the things that you need to change everything. So if you want more details about our program, you guys can head over to our link in bio, or you can check it out on our website under Work with Nicole, or you can email our team, support@nobudgetbabe.com. I think it's really important for you guys to hear from our students so that you can see that it is possible to change your situation. I know a lot of you are going to feel like it's not, and you feel like you're stuck, and you feel like there's no way out, but it's because you have the wrong inputs, you have the wrong strategies, you haven't been taught the way that money works, because the way that society teaches us to do things is backwards, and it doesn't get us the results that they promise, okay? And I know it's easy to think, well, this all worked for Nicole, but she's the anomaly. But I want you to see that this is the rule for what is possible when you start to apply these things into your life, okay? So let's get into it. Tijana, again, thank you so much for joining me today. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit more about yourself, who you are, where you're from, all that fun stuff.
I would love to. Thanks for having me. So I am from Ontario. My name is Tijana. I'm a fitness coach. So I've been in the fitness industry for like over 10 years. This was my adult job forever, which is actually kind of more rare in the fitness industry. So I started as a personal trainer, had a successful business. I've always been an entrepreneur, and now I work online.
Yes.
And then when it comes to finances, like honestly, I never had financial education. Okay. So I don't think anybody had it at school. Maybe recently they're doing that, but probably not, because no one ever sat me down and said, do this. My family never really like guided me there either. And I just assumed that, oh, when I get a good job, when I'm like an adult, I'll be good. Like I'll make lots of money, and I'll buy a house, and I'll retire, and I'll have a great retirement. And I don't know how that works, but it'll happen. And then, you know, like even early as my first job, like I never knew anything about saving, investing, any of that stuff. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, I have 2 kids, and I just turned 32, and I was like, shit, like this, I think that I should be, I think I should be doing something here. So that is what brought me to you ultimately. I saw your videos, and I was on TikTok. So a little bit of background about me and like investing and stuff. I was familiar with it, but whenever I did, like me and my husband did this seminar, like learned about it, but it was always from like older men. And I was kind of like, okay, like it's something about your delivery, Nicole. I was like, I understand this. You're like a millennial woman, my age. You're explaining it very simply, and it made it feel so much more digestible. So I was like, wait a minute, I don't think this investing thing is like out of reach. I think I need to get in here. So that's who I am, and that's what brought me here to you.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And I think there's so many people who are in a similar situation where they're like, maybe they've heard of investing and they know that they should be investing, but they're not really sure where to start. Maybe they've even talked to a financial advisor who has told them, you know, you need $15,000 to start investing, which is complete bullshit and just a lie. It makes me so angry when they do that. It's just because they don't want to manage a small portfolio, because they get paid based on how much money they're managing. Additionally, a lot of people will think, well, maybe investing is just for people who are already wealthy. Maybe investing is just, you just invest in mutual funds. And these things are all these just misguided truths that society has pushed on us, that the banking industry has pushed on us, not to make us wealthy, but to make them wealthy. So for us to really get ahead, it's interesting because we have to learn things, but we also have to unlearn a lot of things as well, so that we can implement the right strategies that are actually going to get us the results that we want in our lives. So that's amazing. You said you found us on TikTok. What made you decide to apply to the program and seek financial coaching with me specifically?
So I have to say my thought process during this. It's funny because I honestly, Nicole, I see your TikToks, and sometimes the words you were using, I'm like, I don't know what she's talking about, but it's legit. Like you're talking about like return dividend. I'm like, I don't know what you're, I'm like these REIT things sound good. I'm like, whatever you're saying. I'm like,
you're like, I just believe her.
I'm like, no. I'm like, this sounds, I'm like, you know what you're saying. I don't know what you're saying, but that's good. And then like, I remember the application for the call. I like literally, I know this sounds bad, but I'm like, I'm not going to read any. I'm like, I'm just going to apply. Like, I just want to talk. And then even like on the call, it was very thorough and very good. And like, she asked a lot of really great questions. And then it was like something like, do you have questions? And then at the end, I'm like, I honestly don't care what you're going to show me. I just need the information. Like, I need this. I was like, I don't know what I don't know. I genuinely like I really didn't know anything. So I was like, whatever you're doing, like the proof is in the pudding, right? Like when I see other people succeeding and your students, and you do such a good job of sharing like different types of people. I was like, if someone else can be in more debt than me and making less income and come out way better, buy a house and do all these things, of course I'm going to succeed. So it was really a no-brainer. So I was like, yeah, like sign me up. I needed something that was from the ground up. I was like, I don't know anything. Like I'm doing my best. I'm, just getting by in life, but I want you to show me from the top. So that's how it went.
No, and I think you said something really powerful there. I think a lot of people are like, well, my situation's not that bad yet, right? Maybe it's not, somebody has it worse than me. So I'm okay. I'm just going to wait, or I'm just going to try to figure it out. And I can't remember the numbers, but I read a study that most people wait for financial disaster to actually start doing something about their finances. And that's when, not that it's impossible, because nothing is impossible. Everything is possible with the right, timeline, education, knowledge, grit. But it becomes a lot harder to overcome if you wait for everything to crumble and fall apart, right? So you saw, okay, I'm not doing too bad, but I'm not exactly where I want to be either. And again, I don't know what I don't know. And that's the thing too, like a lot of people will be like, well, I could just go online, I can try to watch videos, I can try to read blog posts. And well, yes, you can try to do those things. Again, number one, you don't know what you don't know. So while you're out there searching, I get so many people messaging me, sending me DMs, and they're like, Nicole, there's so much information out there, I'm so confused. And it's like, well, of course you are, because there's so many conflicting opinions, and there's so many, half-truths or lies. Like I responded to a video the other day, I don't know if you saw it, it's like, you could become a millionaire in 2 years. And it's like, sure, if you invest $9,000 a week, no problem. So it's just, you have to be really careful about the information that you consume online, and you don't know if the information that you're getting is factual. You don't know if the information you're getting is going to actually work for you. And I think that's why it's so powerful, and why we really want to showcase students like you who have come into our program and take what we've taught. I'm on a live today and I can't frickin' speak, and I'm like, why? Okay, and have taken what we have taught you and actually implemented it into your life and seen those incredible results by going through those strategies and being open to the process and every different part of the process, because the beginning of the course is quite different from the end of the course. The beginning of the course very much focuses on mindset and behavior and psychology, and why even when we know what we're supposed to do, we are not doing it. How do we get out of our own way? At the end of the course is really that $1 million tactic. How do you take that foundation now that we've built and then add this tactic on top of it so we can save more and make more without working harder or without giving up the things that we love?
Yeah, exactly. And something that I just thought of was my light bulb moment too. Like you said, when you don't need to be in a horrible financial situation to take action. But for me, the straw that broke the camel's back was, you don't really, like you always say this, finance is a little bit taboo. So it's not like you go with your friends and you're like, how much money are you making? Like, you kind of have an idea. You might, maybe, I don't know. But, you have an idea of based on their career or whatever. But what really got me was when I was like, wait a second, I'm making really good money here. I was making 6 figures for several years. My income was increasing. And then I'm like, what the hell? Like, my friends who make, I know, way less money than me are buying houses and they have more assets. And I'm just, not in the sense that I'm jealous of them, but it's more like, hey, hold on a second. Like, I think I'm doing something wrong here. Like, I think that was kind of my thing. It was like, it doesn't matter how much income it does. Obviously that factors into it, but it's like, you could be, you always say this, you could be rich, you could be broke, making 100 grand a year and spending 110, and you could be wealthy, making 40 grand a year and spending 30 or whatever.
Exactly. It's all about what you do with it. And like you said, obviously income has something to do with the timeline towards reaching those goals. However, I think it really comes back to those behaviors and that mindset and how you think about money and the way that you see, what's possible for yourself with money, because what you think, what you believe becomes how you act, and those actions become the results that you have in life. So if you don't think that something's possible for you because you're like, hey, well, you know what, I'm making 6 figures and I'm making good money and this just must be how it is. This is just how it is, and it's never going to change. It's never going to get better. There's nothing I can do. Then you get into that mindset of, okay, there's nothing I can do, and then you don't do anything about it. Or you're like, okay, well, maybe the solution, and this is what I see from a lot of people, is I just need to make more money. I just need to make more money and that's going to solve everything. Exactly. The problem is when you make more money, if you don't have those foundations in place, it's not going to go the places that you want it to, and you're actually going to be no further ahead, but you're just going to be working harder, like these people that are, maybe taking on that second job. And I saw this a lot when I was working in corporate. I had a friend, and, we were making good money. We were making $50,000 a year, just out of university. And she wanted to buy a property, and she was going and getting a retail job on the weekend so that she could bring some extra money in. And she realized after that how much money, we went through some scenarios together, how much money she was actually paying in taxes, negated all of this extra work that she was doing because it pushed her into the higher tax bracket, and she was going to have to pay more of that income proportionately to taxes. Then it was worth it for her when she looked at how much of her life she was just trading for this. So she was able to make some changes on the back end to her behaviors and her spending patterns and her saving patterns that actually allowed her to buy that house without having to go and work all of these extra hours. And this is the biggest thing that we teach our students too. It's like, we need to maximize how much money we're making for every hour of our geez Louise, for every hour of our life that we are trading for money. But then we also need to learn how to maximize the happiness that we get out of every dollar that we're spending.
Yeah, that was what I was just thinking of when you were saying that. Like, I love that you taught us that. It was like, is it really worth it to do that second job, or to, like you mentioned a lot of things too, like that I love that everything you do with us in the course is so organized and systematized, and like you have the charts, and you fill out like how much are you actually spending your job, because you might be earning this much salary, but like you said,
Yeah.
it's your time, and is that worth it? And I think something powerful that I've learned from you as well is it's not just the goal isn't always to make more money, it's to have more freedom with your time, or to like leverage what you're making in the best way. That doesn't always mean working harder, it means working smarter. So that was
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. It's interesting that you say that, because I think when a lot of people come into the program, and I say this a lot, but they come into the program and they're like nervous for the investing modules. They're like, oh my God, like it's going to be so hard. It's going to be so challenging. And it's honestly not. I mean, you can attest to this. But when they get to module 3, which is the module where you really go over your goals and you start planning your dream life and you start planning the ways that you're going to get there. So many times people are like, what? I can have anything? I could do anything? I don't have to just like work harder. I don't have to just make more money, right? I can use the money that I have, and with these different strategies, put this in places that is going to bring me closer to my dream life while owning more of my time. Because I think, I went through this like quarter life crisis in my like early mid-20s, where it's like, who am I and why am I here and what is the purpose of anything? And what I realized is, I started learning a lot. I started reading a lot of philosophy books, a lot of psychology books. And what I realized is like the whole point of life is just happiness, right? The whole point. If you're not happy, then what the fuck are you doing? There's no fucking point. So if we can use money as a tool to buy our true happiness, whether that's freedom, safety, security, right? Figuring out what that true happiness looks like to you, because a lot of times, and we're going to be talking about this in our new freebie, but a lot of times people think that what they're spending on today is bringing them happiness because it's giving them that momentary dopamine hit. But what it's actually doing is they're buying sadness, they're buying stress, they're buying overwhelm. So for example, we had a student who was on a call with one of our intake managers the other day. And she said, she was overspending a lot, she was impulse shopping, and she was really sad because she didn't have the money to go to her best friend's wedding. And this was like breaking her heart. She's like, I don't have the money available to go to my best friend's wedding. And this was so important to her. And it was very obvious that she was very upset about this. And when our intake managers kind of questioned her more about that, like, where the money went, what she spent on, she couldn't name a single thing that was important to her, that changed her life, that she had spent this money on. And it's like, we have to take a step back in situations like that and say, we have spent our life energy, right? We work for money. We're taking our precious resource, which is time that we will never get back, and we are spending it to earn money, and then using that money, which is a physical representation of our life, to buy these things that are actually causing us pain, because by buying those things that they thought was making them happy, it prevented them from being able to actually move forward. with the other things that actually matter to them. So that's why we focus a lot in that module on planning your dream life, but understanding your values and understanding your goals and really digging down. Like a lot of people are like, well, I just want more money.
Yeah.
My goal is just to make more money. But it's like, the goal is not actually more money. The goal is what the money can do for you. And for me, the big thing was freedom, right? My two big values in life are family and freedom. And everything that I do has those two things in mind. When I go to make a decision, it becomes very easy for me because I'm like, does this bring me closer to family or freedom? And that's why, you know, people will ask me, how do you stay motivated? How do you get up and do the thing even when you don't want to do the thing? And I'm like, because my priority, again, is that family and that freedom. And I don't need motivation to get up and do that because I am just in a relentless pursuit of those two values and those two goals. And I align my actions 80% of the time. 80% of the time, because we're fucking human, right? But 80% of the time, I align my actions towards those two values and nothing else. And that is what has allowed me to keep going even when I don't feel like it. Even when I'm, you know, I have an autoimmune condition, I'm 8 months fucking pregnant, and I'm writing a personal finance book, and I'm just like, it's okay. I'm gonna make it work, right? You figure it out and you get through it.
That's what I really liked, actually, when you, that values thing, because it just brought a lot of clarity. Like it wasn't, obviously, you know, your thing is no budget, babe, but it's not just about budgeting. It was like a light bulb moment. It's not just about spending the smallest amount of money possible all the time. And,
yes.
and in that module, it clearly identified for me, you know, yeah, my values are similar to yours, the family, the freedom, but like some things that I value might not be the same for someone else. So exactly. If I, like, you know, for example, and I like how you say this too, the rich people, wealthy people don't always look rich, right? Like, so for example, I think when people write a vision board, I always say this, I've never had a luxury car on my vision board. Don't care. I don't care. If it has a blind spot detector and a reverse camera, I'm good. Like, take your Mercedes. I don't care. But like, you know, we all have a different way that we're going to spend our money. And it's like, for some people, investing in, like, I love investing in my home gym. I love investing in my fitness. I take pride in that. Whereas someone else, the designer bag might bring them that joy. But that's why I like that exercise that you did. That's like, what's the minimum you need to spend to maximum, what's the happiness? What's it called again? The happiness equation?
Yeah, so the feeling of enough, the happiness indicator, where we're able to get through that peak level of happiness before it plateaus. So for those of you watching this, essentially the way you need to think about it is, okay, you know, when you buy your first car, or you get your first apartment, or you go on your first vacation, like that level of fulfillment, that level of happiness, that level of joy that you get from those things initially is just like off the fucking charts, right? And then the way we need to think of it then is like the theory of diminishing returns. So each subsequent one may provide less and less happiness. So let's say you get one car. Well, that's going to provide you with a lot of happiness, a lot of joy, a lot of fulfillment, and a lot of purpose, because you use it to get to work, you use it to buy groceries, okay? Maybe you get a second car. Now you're like, okay, well, now I have a little bit more freedom because my husband, my boyfriend, my partner, my whatever can go somewhere and I can go over here. Okay, perfect. Now I have two cars. Maybe you have a weekend car, whatever. Then you get 5 cars. Then you get 10 cars, okay? And then at some point, the cars are not actually bringing you any more happiness. They're actually just detracting from your happiness, because now you're like, I got to fucking insure all of these things. I got to do maintenance on them. I got to find somewhere to store them, right? And we can see that happening in all these other areas of our life where we think, because we've created this rule, right? We're like, okay, spending money on this thing brings us happiness. But we need to rewrite that rule, because it's kind of like going to a buffet, where 1 plate of food, you're going to feel good. 2 plates of food, you're going to feel a little bloated. 3 plates of food, you're going to be like, food coma. I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Okay, and it's the same thing with spending money. And that's, again, why it's really important for us to understand what our values are, aligning our spending to our values and goals, and then making sure that we're bringing ourselves to a feeling of enough and not more, kind of like intuitive eating, right? We're intuitively spending. Exactly. So that's how we kind of get around this, you know, you don't need a budget, because when you do this for a while, when you do this for a couple of months, you just intuitively know, does this feel like enough to me? Does this feel like too much? And before, when I used to go shopping, like I would just fucking buy everything. And now I go into a store and I'm like, you know, I ask myself the questions, do I need this? Do I want this? Does this make me truly happy? Can I get this for less money somewhere else? If I don't have this in my life, is it actually going to change my life materially? Or is there something else I would have rather done with that money that would get me closer to my dream goals? And when you have a really clear plan for your life and what your goals actually are, it becomes a lot easier to know what's in alignment and what's not. And going back to what you said about the values thing, how different people have different values, I think that that's so important too, because so many times, even in relationships, we see two people will have like slightly different values, and there will be a lot of fights and a lot of conflict because those values are not matching. And here's the thing is that, exactly as you said, different people are going to have different values, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's why I hate budgeting and these things that try to put you into a box and tell you, well, you should only spend 30% of your income on housing and you should only spend whatever. I don't agree with that, because if you're someone who values, say, living downtown, and I have had clients who have done this, say they value living downtown, but it is going to be 50% of their income. Well, traditional personal finance and budgets, they're going to fucking shame you. They're going to vilify you. You cannot do that. Okay? I say, as long as the numbers work, the numbers work. If you value living downtown and that brings you happiness and that brings you joy, and you have the funds available to do it, and you are still working towards your other goals, right? Maybe you don't have kids, so you don't have to pay for daycare. Maybe you don't have a car because you live downtown, so you don't have the vehicle expense. And that extra money is going into your housing. There's nothing wrong with that. Right? As long as the numbers work, the numbers work. If you are not saving for your goals, you're not investing for your future, you're not doing those things, that's a different story. Yeah. But overall, right, if you're saying, okay, well, I don't care about vehicles, I don't have kids, like that's not, you know, I'm not going to have kids, it's not a value of mine, that's okay. To spend 50% of your income on your housing then, because that's what you value and that's what makes you the most happy. Like the whole point of life is happiness. There's nothing wrong with that.
I couldn't agree more. And I've already, like when we did that exercise in the program about kind of just seeing what brings you happiness, and you had us rate like, does this equally make you happy, less happy, or more? That was a real eye-opener, because now I have seen my habits change. Like, for example, I know I'm buying my first home next year, which is I'm so excited about. It's funny because I remember thinking, oh, I want to get the biggest house possible for what I want to spend. And then I kind of realized my value system. Like, I'm not a home, I don't care about, I hate decorating. I hate cleaning. I hate maintenance. I'm not a house person. I always say I'd rather put money into renovating myself than my house. Like I'm not into that. So then I was like, hey, who's to say that I don't want to buy a condo as opposed to a house, right? Or a smaller house. It's like maybe someone's value system is I know people like that. I don't want any neighbors. I want like an acreage. I don't care about that. Yeah. I want less house to clean, somewhere nice to film my content. I don't have to deal with anything in my attic. Like that's my value system. And I'll spend money somewhere else. Some people might be like, oh, that's crazy because I'm going to do YouTube workouts at home. But I'm like, no, I got to have a nice home gym and a gym. That's me.
And that's totally okay. And that's like, you know, the difference here. So when my husband and we were shopping for our house, our original like price point that we were trying to hit was a lot lower than what we actually ended up spending. But we were like, you know, trying to have more cash flow for other areas in our lives. And I was like, Justin, like we spend our entire life at home. We don't, you know, we love to cook at home. We love to entertain. We love to have people over. We just love to be here. And then we're like, well, why would we save more money for, say, like eating out or like doing these other things when that's not actually something that we really want to do? So we ended up buying the house, right? It was more expensive, but now we get to have the house that has all the things, and I don't like to leave. So it's, you know, nice and it has all the things, and we get to entertain and we get to have our, you know, holiday parties here and our families over for the holidays and stuff, and that's like what felt really good to us. But again, like there's nothing wrong. Both are perfect, and I think that that's great that you're even considering a condo, because a lot of people I even saw like from selling real estate would be like, oh no, like it has to be a freehold, and it's like this, I think like passed down from the older generations. You have to have a freehold. You can't be in a condo. You need to have a yard. If you don't want to mow the fucking lawn, if you don't have time to take care of a garden, if you want to like take out the garbage, like I lived in a condo townhouse for my first property, and I do miss the simplicity of that. And it was nice to have a swimming pool and to have a frickin' gym in there. And you know, like we did have that consideration as well. And I think it's so important that people are basing their decisions based on their personal values and goals, what actually brings them personally happiness, instead of doing just like what society tells you to do. And that's really, again, what we try to do in module 3 is like break down all of those limiting beliefs or all of those beliefs of what you think your life has to look like, and then allow you to build it from the ground up so that you can truly find your happiness.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay. So can you share with us a little bit more about where you were before coming into the program and what your goals were coming into the program?
Yeah, for sure. So I was making good money, and that's the thing. Like I wasn't like crushed by debt. Like I always had like a little bit of debt. Like I'd buy stuff. I didn't have an emergency fund. I had nothing. I didn't even know what that was, to be honest. And when my friends would talk about like having, like when, I don't know, someone had cash to pay for like, oh, I need to take my dog to the vet, $3,000. I'd be like, y'all aren't putting that on your credit card? Like, isn't that what like I just was like, no, I always went for like the lowest interest card and just paid it off, and that was kind of my cycle. So no emergency fund, had a little bit of high interest debt, no financial knowledge. I didn't know. I came in like a clean slate, and so throughout the program, I finally like got the whole emergency fund thing. I think I'm on. I think I have 5K now saved.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I totally, and I paid off my debt. I keep my debt at 0. My credit score is really, really good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So, and then also like the one thing that I love that you taught me, which it might seem really simple, but for me, it's just so helpful, is the different savings accounts for different things. Like I can actually see it going into that, right? Like it's, like some of the things are fun things for me. Like I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy a YSL bag. Like I'm going to put just, why not? Like I'm putting cash. I'm going to only pay for it when I have cash. My family vacation, like that spreadsheet that I made, I'm like, I know how much I'm saving. So I have a really good handle on my finances. I'm also now, of course, investing. Like that's another big thing. I did have investments. And the funny freaking thing is, that's why I love the support in the group, because I always felt like I was asking kind of like very rookie questions, but I was like, I know I'm not thinking you guys are like, oh, you're so dumb. It's like,
No.
I am where I am. Like I felt safe to ask. So I was like, yeah, like I want to invest, but like I think I already have investments. And you're like, yeah, you have mutual funds. And then I learned, oh my God, these fees are so high compared with the other options that are going to give me a higher return like similar results for way less fees and more money in my pocket. So then I was like, okay, I learned that I was just kind of like, not in control of my finances, because I'd go to the bank and what's the word for it? Like I didn't feel empowered to make a choice, because I didn't really understand what was happening, right? They just asked their questions and I was like, oh, low risk. Yeah. I didn't know what was what. So then I had a really good handle of like, okay, what do I want? This is when I want to retire. This is how much I'll need to invest. These are my short-term goals. These are my long-term goals. And then from that, I was like, okay, I can have more money in my pocket for making these types of investments. So now I'm doing my ETFs. I'm doing target date fund for my retirement. Instead of the expensive mutual funds, the fees are only 0.35 instead of 2.5. So it's, and then now,
which is huge.
It's huge.
That's huge. Like I don't think people understand. I'm going to pull up a compound interest calculator just to like do some math, because I don't think people, so like even a 1% difference in fees, these financial advisors will be like, it's okay, it's only 2%. And you're like, you hear that, you're like, oh, 2% is like such a small number. Of course I can pay 2%. Not realizing that, number one, they still take that fee even when the market goes down. It's not a percentage of what you've made, it's a percentage of your total portfolio, and they take it no matter what, okay? And not understanding that even a 1% difference in fees could mean 10 years less in retirement income. So let's do a quick calculation. Let's say you're putting, let's say $500 a month into, let's say the average return was 10%, and then the fee was 2.5%. So we got, there we go. So we're going to do with mutual funds first. We're going to say you did this for 30 years. Okay, 30 years. If you did $500 a month with a 2.5% fee, where the average return was 10%, it's on the high end, but math, for 30 years, you would have $641,000, okay? Now, if we did with your target date fund, which is a 0.3% fee, Okay, everything else the same. We had 641, $973,000. Okay, $300,000. And I know you guys are listening to this and you're like, that number doesn't even seem real to you, but trust me, when you get to retirement, like I can tell you that there's a lot of things that I would have rather spent $300,000
Oh yeah.
on than a financial advisor that you talk to once a year, right? Because when you go to the bank, and this is what most people do, and they don't understand because this is the banks want you to think this is what you're supposed to do, right? They make a lot of money and they push this as their kind of agenda, and they tell you to come in there. They don't educate you. Okay, they don't tell you about your different options. They just have you take like this short little questionnaire. They ask you, are you comfortable losing money? Not explaining to you that the level of risk that you should be in is not based on your feelings. It is based on your personal financial situation, your timeline to your goal. Okay, those all implicate what level of risk you can take. And I can't tell you how many, it makes me so fucking angry, how many people I've seen in their 20s and their 30s who are in low risk mutual funds. Okay. I've told this story before, but it still fucking blows my mind. I had a client, a student, and she was paying, I can't remember now, let's call it 3%. Okay, so she's paying a 3% fee for her mutual funds. And she comes in and she sits with me and she's like, I'm so excited, Nicole. I'm investing, like, look at my investments. And I'm like, okay, you're paying a 3% fee, which number one is just so high. It is so high. And number two, you're in low risk investments. So when we look at the historical returns, meaning what that fund has provided over the last 10 years, it was about 3.5%. So she's paying 3% in fees,
oh God,
potentially making on average 3.5%. That means her net, what she actually gets to keep, is 0.5%, half a percent. She would have made more money putting her money into a high yield savings account, okay? And she had no idea. And this is the thing, is you can't get that time back. She would have got to retirement, right, thinking she's doing the right thing. I'm putting money into investments. I'm investing for retirement. And maybe not had enough money to retire. The opportunity cost, like time, is where your money compounds, right? And your money grows for you. This is how investing works. It's quite literally how you turn small amounts of money into big amounts of money over time. You can definitely get there faster if you put in more, but for most people, they're going to put in a smaller amount, and they're going to give it that time to grow. But if you give up that time, like my parents, I had no idea. I mean, I obviously was very young at the time. This was like 15, 20 years ago. My dad was very, very sick, so he had cancer and all these things, so he got let go from his work. He got paid out his pension, and then his pension was put into, like, he went to the bank and was like, what do I do with this? They put it into a GIC at 2%.
Oh my God.
For like 15, 20 years. And I was like, it didn't even keep up with inflation. They could have turned that into $500,000, and that would have gone a long fucking way for their retirement. But because they listened to the person at the bank, because they assumed the person at the bank has their best interests at heart, the person at the bank is the one who's educated on this financial, the financial knowledge and financial literacy and all these things, they assumed they were doing the right thing. And when I just found out about this like a year ago, and I was like, oh my God, I had no idea. And like, that is not, like, no, that is so bad. And now the thing is, they're in their 60s. They don't have that time to put that money into the stock market to have it grow. It's volatile in the short term. Like, they
missed out
because of that one person. Like, it had such a profound impact on the financial health for their entire life. Like, it's just, I get so passionate about it because it blows my mind how people are allowed to say these things, and people won't realize the bad information that they've been given a lot of times until it's too late. And this is why I say, even if you work with a financial advisor, guys, you still need to be educated. You still need to be able to sit at that table and have that conversation, because it's your money and it's your future, and no one is going to look out for you better than you will. It's like, I had to take my car in to get the brakes done. I know nothing about, I know like zero things about cars, so I take my car.
Did they try and eyeball you because you're a woman? Because they do that.
So everything they said to me, I was like, I'm gonna call someone who knows. Like, I am not coming in here blind. I am not taking your word for it. I am calling somebody who knows, and I am making sure, like, nope, I don't need that, or like, yes, go ahead with that, because you don't know. You go into the mechanic and they're like, you need a new battery, you need like 7 new wheels, and you're like, why? Right? Like, the car's 4 years old, so. I mean, exactly. So I'm like, let me just call someone who knows. So you need to be able to sit at the table and have the conversation. And I promise you, learning about investing is a lot easier than learning the mechanics of a car and how a car works overall.
Yeah, and that was like, knowledge is power, right? And the more I realized, like, you know, I like to be empowered in my choices in general. So it was really eye-opening because, especially with a mutual fund thing, like, you know, even just understanding that and then having the conversation with them. And like, I moved my mutual funds to a GIC because I wanted to use the money to buy a home next year. So anyway, then I remember the guy was like, oh, no, it's something along the lines of like, oh yeah, it's only a 2.5% fee, or like it's only whatever. Like, he was kind of trying to make it seem like this is a good thing. And I'm like, no, like, I'm good. Like, you know, like, I
It's
felt good.
only a 2.5% fee.
Yeah, like, he was saying something like, are you sure you want to move? And then I just felt good because I thought, oh, no, I feel good understanding how my money's growing, why putting it in here is better than here. And I can totally see why, you know, like those situations you mentioned it can put you in trouble. It can make your money work a lot less hard for you. And then someone might not ever know, right? They might think, like, I might have gone my whole life missing out on so much opportunity to have financial security just because I thought that this is just how it is. You know, you have to trade hours for dollars and just save everything, and that's all you get. And hopefully keep up with inflation.
I think that's the biggest thing too, is like realizing that there are different paths available to you. And there were a few times in my life that were kind of like these pivotal, like, aha moments. The first one was when I started my corporate job, and I loved to network with people, right? Because my goal at the time was like, I'm going to be the CEO one day. Like, I'm going to have a corner. Like, I thought I just needed to make all of the money and have this high-powered position so that I could have the success and the wealth and the happiness and all of the things. So our VP was a female, and I was like, perfect. I'm going to meet Sharon, and I'm going to ask her to, like, meet for lunch. So we had lunch one day, and we were talking, and I'm, you know, telling her, like, I want to be like you. I want to build, you know, I'm so in awe of your career and all these things. And she didn't really have anything good to say about it. She basically said, you know, she had 2 young boys, and every day they're sad that they don't get to see mommy, and their dad's always telling them, it broke my heart, and their dad was always telling them, well, you know, we have all of these nice things because mommy works so hard, and mommy has to go to work to pay for all of these things. And she's like, but I never get to see my fucking kids. And she was there, like, she was there at the office 5 a.m., 7 p.m., she's still there. Like, she lived in that office. And all I could think was, what kind of a life is that? And first, if you're doing that, you love it, like, all the fucking power to you. But for me, I was like, what kind of a life is that? Like, I want to be the mom that shows up randomly at lunch with, like, something fun for my kids, or picking them up and going to their games together. Like, that's what I want, you know, when I have a family. And that just didn't make sense to me. So that was like a big, like, I need to do something different, because this path that I'm going down is not one that's actually going to make me happy. And another one that really changed my perception of what life can be is when I was working for the real estate brokerage. My boss's brother, he bought a triplex downtown in Toronto, and he would live in one unit. It's like it needed a lot of work. So he would live in one unit, he rented out the other 2, he'd fix it up, right? And then he would move on to the next unit. And he did this over a few years, and he'd be able to charge more rent for units because they were nicer. He ended up fixing up the whole house. He lived there for a few years. The property, he forced appreciation through the renovations, and the market went up. And he sold the property for $1 million profit, and then moved his family to Bali. They just live on the beach. And I'm like, you can do that? Like, he was in his 40s, and I was like, you can do that? You don't have to work forever. You can live on the fucking beach. And that's when I was like, you actually can just do anything. You just need the right strategy to get there. You got to figure out what you want, but you can do anything. I thought that was so cool.
That's one of my favorite sayings. Everything's figure outable, and knowledge is power. So, like, when you break down the numbers, it's like I would tell a client, like, okay, like, listen, if you're not losing body fat, like, I know we get emotional, right? Just like with finances, I'm like, we got to count, we got to manage the calories in, calories out, right? Like, so with finances, it's like, okay, everything's figure outable, not with a budget, but understanding, like, this is the goal I want. This is how much I need to be investing. This is the return I can expect. So when you break it down like that, it's not just like a distant dream. Like, you can make it happen. It's
exactly.
It puts the power back into your hands.
Exactly. And if you try one strategy and it doesn't work for your particular situation, that's okay because we just changed the plan and not the goal. The goal stays the same, but the strategy changes. So for like people that are like, hey, well, I don't want to wait until I'm 65 to retire, no problem. You can definitely retire earlier. There's a lot of different ways that you could do that. You can become work optional in your 30s and your 40s. Everyday people are doing it. Teachers, plumbers, right? Like regular people are doing this every day and they're figuring it out. There's ways to make it happen for your personal situation. And just because you don't know how yet doesn't mean that it's not possible. Mm-hmm. But I think that that's amazing. Did you want to share what goals you are pursuing next?
Yeah, would love to. So that was a good thing from this program too, that I kind of learned it through other people, like what goals do I want? Like, for example, financial independence. I never really understood. I thought that meant when you don't depend on someone else to give you money, but I guess it means income as well. Like you don't need to depend on your income to bring you money. So that whole concept of it just, that was one of the new goals that I want, is to be able to retire early. So I always wanted to, well, so here are my goals, my next steps. Number one, the short-term goal, backtracking, is going to be to buy my first home next year. So that's that was my main thing going into this program, but it was definitely not something that I thought was possible so early. But I've thankfully managed to come up with that plan, and I feel really good about that. Yeah, I'm really excited. And then
so excited for you.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, I've also identified in the program too, like what, not just, oh, everybody wants to retire. No one wants to work until they die. But I've been able to identify like, okay, I want to do that a little bit earlier. Or even if I don't, fully retire, to become less dependent on income, for example, in my 40s, like that would be my ideal. Yeah. For me, to be honest, I'm very passionate about my career because I'm self-employed and, like I love doing what I do. So I want more time freedom ultimately. Yeah. And then my big next goal was I want to be able to take 4 vacations a year with my family. So I want to take 2 with my kids. Yeah. And
I love that.
That's a big thing for us, right? Like it's,
yes.
Like I said, I'm not
my next goal.
What's that?
That's my next goal. That's what I'm aiming for next. 4 vacations a year. It feels lofty for me right now, just from like a time perspective, but that is 100% my next goal. I love that. Once a quarter, then there's always something like really fun to look forward to. I love traveling.
Me too. Well, I mean, I know exactly the time thing for me too, but I'm self-employed. Like I work all the time, but I actually like what I do. So it's kind of, you do too, it's never really like a time off, but 2 of my kids, 2 of my husband, that's my goal. Like just having more opportunity to see the world. Like I had, so I had my kids before. It's funny because you were talking about like wanting to be financially secure before having kids, but I was like totally like broke and young when I had my kids.
Yeah, that's okay.
So I started building my career, like really took off after I had my first son.
Amazing.
And so I want to be able to create financial security for my kids now, for myself, and then for my children. And that's another big thing that that I've gained, like just the knowledge and ability to be able to like make sure that they're going to be in a much better place, both from being educated and from having something to start their life with, like in a much better position than I was. So I think that that's really going to be the most fulfilling thing.
I love that so much. And I think that that is so important. And a lot of people are like, well, I want to be able to like gift my kids a ton of money. And like, that's amazing too. If you can set your kids up for success financially and do it in like a responsible way, I love that. But I think the biggest gift that you can give your children is that gift of that knowledge. Because my husband and I were just talking about this the other day, where it's like, imagine if we had known like what we know now. Imagine we knew that at like 18.
Oh my God.
Holy fuck. Right? Like it's so crazy to think that like, our kids are going to grow up having this knowledge and having this information, and how far ahead they'll be able to be just simply by having it. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about this too, because it's just, you quite literally need this stuff to survive.
Yeah.
You have to invest if you want to retire ever. It's not like, it doesn't just happen. We don't, and I used to just believe that. I used to just like, when you're 65, you just stop working.
Yeah, I thought
that's
too.
not how it works. You don't just, and a lot of us can see this from our parents right now, right? Where they're like, okay, are your parents ever going to be able to stop working? Like, I know there's so many of us with parents that are in like bad financial positions, and we're looking at it and we're like, I don't want that to be me. And if you don't want that to be you, then the easiest way to do it is just to get started now with whatever you can. The earlier you start, the easier it is. And not to say that you can't do it if you're older as well. But if you are young, like, use that gift
Yes.
of time. Use that to your advantage. Even just investing $50 a month, starting in
Compounding.
your, early 20s, could be hundreds of thousands of dollars in free money in retirement. And a lot of people think, well, I'm just starting out small and it's not going to be anything. Again, investing is quite literally how you turn small amounts of money into big amounts of money over time. And a lot of people may start small, right? They may start with $50 a month, but as you move forward and you progress in your career and you start making more money, or you learn how to negotiate, or you learn other skills to save, right? Align your spending with your goals, all of that kind of stuff. A lot of our students, they come in thinking they have nothing to save, nothing to invest, and they leave. Like Sonia is she was one of my first one-on-one clients, and she ended up being a co-coach for us afterwards because I just loved her. She did so great. She's like, I have $0 to save, $0 to invest. After 2 months working with us, she found $2,500.
Oh yeah.
$2,500 a month. A month. And she was, she was making good money. She wasn't making six figures though. She was able to negotiate more money for herself at work. She was able to negotiate a really big bonus at the end of the year, and had this $2,500 a month. She was going to be able to, she locked in her millionaire status simply by reallocating what she was using, because she didn't understand where it was going before.
Exactly. It's so true. And like, I like that saying, the best time to start is yesterday, but the second best time is now. Like, it's funny because that's why I'm so happy too. Speaking of setting up our family and our kids, like, I remember I got my first job at 15, and my friend at the time was like, oh, I'm saving to buy a house. And it sounds so bad to say, but I'm like, loser, like, why are you saving your money? Like, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that she's bought a house by now. Yeah, like, and I think like back then I thought, oh, there's no, wow, like 50 years later, like everyone, I didn't even think you could retire early. I thought everyone retires at 65. I thought you don't need to start doing that until earlier, but that's one huge thing that I wish I knew. You don't need a lot at all. And anything that you do put is going to be significant, especially if, like you said earlier, how to do that in a way that you're not paying these astronomical fees. So it's more money in your pocket.
Exactly. It's funny, I actually wrote about that in my book. So I started working at 12. I always wanted to like have my own money and be able to just like take care of myself and that kind of thing. So I lied. I got a job at Wendy's. I lied on my application. I said I was 16. They hired me. I think I was making like $6.35 did I start out with? Or $5.75? I can't remember. The minimum wage. Yeah. It was a lot lower back then. And I just remember, like, I would take that whole paycheck, a couple $100, and I'd take that whole paycheck and I would just go spend it on like makeup and clothes. And I wrote about it. Like, if I had even just invested $50, $100 out of that couple $100, like, I didn't need to spend all that money, right? Like, holy shit, that would be a lot of fucking money right now.
I know, I'm sickened. Well, we did that exercise where it's like, well, it was a good eye opener, like the lifetime earnings, and I had no idea. Yeah. And then, it made me realize, like, you're really never too young to start.
No.
And you're never
I don't think so.
You're never too old to start either. So that's kind of the comforting thing, right? Like, it's, there's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, I think, with our son right now, his Aunt Donna gave him 2 toonies for Easter, and he's so cute. Mama, I have money. Do you have money, Mama? How many monies do you have? So cute. But we're like showing him, like, okay, well, why don't you take some and spend it? Like, he loves donuts. We're gonna go to Tim Hortons and get a donut so he can spend some on something that makes him happy, right? Because money is for spending too. And then we're gonna teach him, well, maybe he wants to. He's too young to fully comprehend this yet, but maybe he wants to go to, like, say, space camp in the summer or something. Okay, well, we can start putting it in here, and you can save for the future, and you can invest for the future, and Mom will pay you interest, and every dollar you put in, I'll match your dollar, or whatever it is, something like that. And just showing them how money can grow over time, how to delay gratification, how to align your spending to your goals. I think the last point that I'll make here is that a lot of people think that saving for the future is sacrificing, right? They're sacrificing something today to save for the future. I think that's just a mindset shift that we need to make, because we need to understand what is actually more important to us and what is actually going to bring us more happiness. We tend to place more emphasis on the happiness that we get out of items today, but we don't realize that we're going to be that person in the future living that life. So like the woman that I talked about before who was on the call with our intake managers who thought she was buying herself happiness by going and spending on her lunch breaks and going shopping and online shopping and all these things, but couldn't name a single thing that she bought that was really exciting to her, but then was not able to go to her best friend's wedding. And so again, you think you're getting this happiness by using this, dopamine and this instant gratification, when the reality is you would have had more happiness and more fulfillment and more joy in your life by putting that money towards the things that actually matter. So it's really just about aligning your spending to your values and goals, understanding who you are and who you want to be, and then using that $1 million tactic to be able to get you there faster through things like investing.
Yes, 100%.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming today, Tijana. I have had so much fun talking to you. This has been great. Is there anything that you wanted to leave? If there was like one last piece of advice to anybody who's watching this, what would you say? So I put you on the spot too.
No, I love it. The one thing that I want to say is you can't buy back time. So the sooner you start, the better. And I'm a firm believer that successful people are decisive and action takers. So my recommendation is if you want to get ahead of your financial situation, do it now. And do the program. It's going to help you.
I love that. If you guys want more information about the program, again, you can check out our link in bio. You can go to our website under Work with Nicole. The program that Tijana took was the Making Money Moves method, or you can reach out to our support team, support@nobudgetbabe.com, and we'll be able to help you out. So thank you again to everybody who tuned in. We had a really great group. And again, I know I saw some questions about people asking if this will be posted. This is going to be on our YouTube channel and on our Instagram as well. And we're going to be sending out a replay link to everybody on our email list. So again, thank you all so much. I hope you have a beautiful day. And thank you, Tijana. I can't wait to see you in Income Multiplier.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye.